Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire version. Yeah, I know I should probably review the original, but I really haven't played it as much, so, I mean, if I were to review it, it'd probably be something like this. Pokemon Pinball! This game is pretty cool, I think, because it has a Pikachu on the cover who looks all dramatic, and I'm pretty sure Meowth's in there somewhere, and, you know, Meowth's a pretty cool dude. So, yeah, that Pokemon Pinball, guys. One thing I do remember about the original is that I had two different boards, one for red and one for blue. This game has the same kind of thing, one for Ruby and one for Sapphire. I personally kind of like the Ruby board better. I just always seem to do a lot better at it for some reason. On both boards you have to activate catch mode by sending the ball up along the right hand side, until the arrow in front of Sharpedo or Wailmer lights up. Once that happens, you can land in his mouth and hit the Lotad or Skirmish bumpers up towards the top 3 times, then the Pokemon itself 3 times. I mean, it's pretty straightforward with the arrows lighting up and stuff, but then again, you have to do this a lot. So I think the people who made this game kinda wanted to make sure you 100% got what you were doing. A new method of catching Pokemon was created in this game, hatching eggs. This obviously wasn't in the original because you couldn't do breeding back then, but now you can, and so you can hatch eggs. Although some people really don't like it, I kinda like this method. I mean, the Pokemon look so cute when they walk around on the board, I almost feel bad for hitting them. I do have one problem with hatch mode though. The fact that there's no timer at the top right. I mean, there's one in catch mode, there's one in Evo mode, and there's even one in the Minigames. But nope, not here. So I mean, it's really frustrating when you're trying to catch a Pokemon and you don't know how much time you have left, or even more annoying when they just disappear without you even knowing you ran out of time. Speaking of Evo mode, that's another way to get Pokemon. Of course, you have to start off with the Pokemon you've already caught, but it's pretty similar to catch in the sense that you have to send the ball up a certain pathway a few times to activate it, except this one's on the left-hand side instead of the right. Once you do this enough, the Pokemart turns into a place you send the ball for Evo mode. Why the Pokemart? I don't know. You send it in and pick the Pokemon you want to evolve. After that, you have to go get 3 things put on the board in random places. One thing that's cool is what you get depends on what Pokemon you're trying to get. If it evolves through leveling up like most Pokemon, you have to catch little gold EXPs. If they level up with Leaf Stone, you have to go get little leaves, and etc. I know it's a small little detail, but I always thought it was really cool of them to even think of that. Then after you get those 3 things, you have to go into the little swirly evolution lore text thingy, and then your Pokemon evolves. For some reason, in this game, I'm ridiculously good at making money, but ridiculously bad at being able to get into the Pokemart to spend it. To collect money, you have to shoot your ball above where the bumpers are, and you get a few coins each time you do that. This is really easy to do, even by accident. Maybe this is just me, but I always end up with a ton of money left over at the end, because I got a bunch and never got into the Pokemart. The Pokemart is kind of out of the way in the Ruby board, but it's kind of easier to get into, because all you have to do is hit the doors, and then you can just get in. And with Sapphire, you have to hit the Plusle and the Minin, which can be really difficult and really frustrating. At the Pokemart, usually I just end up buying ball savers. What those do is that means that when your ball falls down, Latias or Latios saves it. You automatically get 60 seconds of this at the beginning of each round, and I think 30 at the start of catch or egg or Evo mode, but it's always nice to be able to buy it at the store because chances are your rounds will run more than 60 seconds. Also, the store offers a 30-second timer, which gives you an additional 30 seconds onto the next mode you enter. You can also buy a Pika Saver, a ball upgrade, or a bonus minigame. You can also, if you have a lot of money, buy an extra ball. But you have to have exactly 99, not 96. Even though, you know, it's only 3 away, and I only spent like, you know, 20 minutes on just getting money for that, you know. But you know, not bitter or anything. My only problem with how the boards are set up is this. No, not Lotad and Skirmish. I mean the way the bumpers are set up. Just watch. During catch mode, when hitting all 3 unlocks the Pokemon faster, or when putting your ball over the 3 red dots upgrades your Pokeball, this is kind of a good thing. But most of the time when you're in the middle of hatch mode, or Evo mode, or any other moment when you're actually trying to do something, and actually try to not waste time, this is just annoying. And this happens all the time. I can't even say how many times getting stuck in here has caused me to run out of time and lose a Pokemon. There are more things to do on the boards besides just catching Pokemon though, like these little yellow bumper things put all around the board. They each do something different and they're kind of fun. In the Ruby board, if you hit the yellow bumper by the Chikorita and then the Luna on the right side, you can control Makuhita, and the Makuhita is pretty awesome. I mean, just look at it. Makuhita can help hook you up with some money. And he can also reveal his secret hatred for Nuzleaf while getting a ball upgrade at the same time. I mean, so overall, it's kind of a win-win. Ball upgrades are pretty cool. I mean, they don't actually help with catching Pokemon like you think they would, but they kind of change how the ball looks and makes each thing you do worth more points. You start with a regular ball, and then you get a great ball, then an ultra ball, then finally a master ball. Master balls are really hard to get, but here's a totes legitimate picture of me playing this game using a master ball. The only thing that sucks about the Sapphire board is there's no Nuzleaf to attack. The only way to really upgrade your ball is the red circle thingy above the bumpers. But I mean, I guess that's okay. If you hit the bumper with the zigzagoon next to it on the right side, you'll stand up. If you're standing up when the slot starts going, you can press A and stop the slot where you want it better. The slot is another thing that can help you out on the board in this game. In the slot, you can win money. Lots of money. You can also activate catch mode, get another ball saver, or win a big prize of a lot of points, or a small prize with not very many points. I always somehow manage to land on the small prize, even with Zigzagoon's help. I mean, normally I wouldn't be complaining about a bigger score, but I'd much rather get 30 coins or catch mode than an amazing 700 point boost. I guess I never really talked about what the Pika Saber is though. At the bottom, by the flippers, is a Pikachu. You can move Pikachu depending on which flipper you move. If you move the right flipper, he goes on the right side. If you move the left flipper, he goes on the left. You can charge up the Pikachu by spinning that little Pikachu square thing on the right side until the lightning meter is full. If it's full and you land on Pikachu, he lightning bolts your ball back onto the board and saves it. What Pika Saver does is it adds another little bro to help Pikachu. Pichu. He can be purchased from the store for 50 coins or 1 on the slot. What this basically does is gives you protection on both sides, from Pikachu and Pichu. I mean, you still have to have a charge, but I mean, it's kind of cool to have Pichu to help you there too. Like the original game, different Pokemon are available at different locations and different boards. At the start of each round, you kinda sorta get to choose where you go. In Ruby, you can go to the volcano and Safari. In Sapphire, you can go to the wilderness and the lake. And in both, you can go to the forest, ocean, plains, or cave. You can also get to the ruins, but it's really hard to do. You basically have to travel 6 times, which is really hard to do all in one round. You can travel by hitting the yellow bumper on the bottom left side. Each time you do that, a Seedot or a Gulpin lands there. Once there are 3 there, you can travel by sending your ball up over the board and into the vortex. You don't really get to pick where you go, but if you land in a place you don't really want or need to go somewhere else, it's kind of helpful. The first bonus minigame is the Spheal game. In Ruby, you hit the yellow bumper by the Lotads a whole bunch until a Whiscash appears in the pond, and then you land in his mouth. But you have to be really careful to actually land in his mouth, because if you hit him on the back or the side, even though you're just trying to land in his mouth and play his happy little minigame, he gets really scary and really angry, and throws a temper tantrum and causes a giant earthquake. In the Sapphire board, you have to hit the bumper by the P by the Pelipper until it starts glowing rainbow. Then you can land in Pelipper's mouth. This minigame is really fun and super cute. You get points by landing either a Pokeball or a Spheal on the Sphealio, who bounces it into the hoop. Getting a Pokeball in there is really easy, since all you have to do is get it up the ramp. In order to get the Spheal to land in there, though, you have to hit one of the Spheals climbing up one of the ramps. The Spheals, because they're a bit harder to hit, are worth more points, though. This game is pretty easy, but really fun and one of my favorites, despite being kind of annoying and really hard to unlock. There are 2 games you can only play on the Ruby board, Kecleon and Groudon. After getting 3 Pokemon, a portal thing opens up in the center, and if you land on it, you can choose to go to the Kecleon minigame. Basically, in this game, you have to hit Kecleon, who's invisible. The only way to make him visible is to either watch for clues on the board, like water ripples, or shaking grass, or other things that are really hard to catch. Or you can hit the tree and grab this weird gray thing. I honestly don't know what it is. I mean, I've heard it's glasses, I just really don't know. All I know is I'm really bad at this game, glasses or not. I mean, I can get the weird machine thingy, but even when I do, I'm horrible at getting Kecleon himself. I usually just end up going in circles, and even when I do knock him down so I can actually hit him, by the time I get back there to hit him, he's run off or he's invisible again. But, I mean, if you manage to win with more than a minute remaining, you can catch Kecleon. I mean, this game's fun, I'm just not the best at it. The other Ruby exclusive game is the Groudon game. This game is really hard. Basically, in order to even hit Groudon, you have to destroy one of the pillars surrounding him. That sounds kinda easy, right? But it's not. While you're destroying one of the many pillars that surround him, you're trying to avoid fireballs that'll trap your ball and waste a ton of your time, and also trying to not hit the rocks that are just gonna get in your way. Once a pillar is destroyed, you have to go in the hole form and hit him a bunch before the pillars get, rebuilt? This sounds easier than it is, but getting hit by fire wastes time, and there's rocks, and the pillars rebuild kind of fast, and it's just really annoying. But somehow if you manage to be able to defeat this challenge twice in a round, you'll have caught Groudon. Although I like the Ruby board itself better, I actually kind of like the Sapphire Minigames better. Just like the Kecleon game, the Duskull game is triggered after getting 3 Pokemon and going into a vortex. This game has 2 different stages. In the first stage, you just have to go around and hit all the Duskulls. I think there's 25. And although the graves are supposed to make it super challenging, they don't really end up being that big of a deal. After you get them all, a huge Dusclops comes down. If you can get the timing down, this part isn't the worst. When his hands are up, you hit him from the back. When his hands are down, you can hit him from the front. I mean, the Duskull part can be a little bit frustrating when there's only like 1 or 2 left and you just can't get them. Or when the Dusclops kidnaps your ball. But other than that, I somehow have a much easier time with this one than the Kecleon one. Since there's a Groudon game, there's obviously a Kyogre game. Although this one's pretty hard too, it's not as hard as a Groudon one. Kyogre sends out a ring of ice, which is sort of annoying, but by moving the flippers you can kind of break free. But if you really want to avoid that, you can try to hit Kyogre right before he freezes you, and sometimes it stops him. After the whole frozen ball thing, he creates whirlpools, which, just like the fireballs, only serve to tick you off and waste your time. If you avoided the whirlpools and can actually control your ball, you can try to hit Kyogre as it comes out of the water, but that's pretty hard to do. Whirlpools are not. But like Groudon, if you beat him twice in one game, he's yours. Alright, so the next part are kind of spoilers. I mean, it's stuff that's hard to unlock, and since people hate spoilers, I just kind of wanted to warn people just in case. So if spoilers really bother you, then skip this. I mean, I classified them as spoilers because these Pokemon are really hard to get or really difficult to trigger. You have to be really far into the game to get most of these, making these Pokemon final bosses in a sense. The first, as probably expected, is Rayquaza. Whatever. The awesome flying green guy that I never caught as a kid. This level's even harder than Groudon and Kyogre. Unlike them, Rayquaza is constantly moving around the stage, even up and down, so basically that means that even if you do hit him, he could be hovering above the ground and you could still miss. Luckily, Rayquaza's lightning and tornado attacks are a lot easier to avoid. They can still do an annoying, time-wasting, frustrating thing like the other attacks, but at least these are a bit easier to avoid. To be honest, the biggest challenge is actually hitting him. Although I've played this bonus round, I actually haven't beaten him twice, so I still don't have him. I mentioned travel earlier, and I mentioned the Ruins area, a place you can only get to after traveling 6 times. This is where the other 4 special legendary Pokemon are. To be entirely truthful, I have never really caught Jirachi, so please, if I get some wrong info, just pretend I didn't say anything. From what I've seen, you have to be on the Ruins, and when the slot comes up, you have a chance of landing on Jirachi Arrival. This will put Jirachi on the board, and at that point you have 30 seconds to hit him 3 times. He moves around, and 30 seconds is not a lot of time, so catching him is probably really hard to do. But oh my goodness, can you be mad at him? Yes you can. He's kind of a pain to catch. So yeah, I can stay mad at him. Although I'd like to be mad at the Regis for being as hard to catch in this game as they were in the actual Ruby and Sapphire, I can't. I mean, sure you have to get to the Ruins, but they're caught just like regular old Pokemon. Nowhere near as possibly frustrating as Jirachi. I have way too much fun in the Pokedex pressing the select button. It makes the Pokemon sprite appear, and it looks different depending on how you originally caught it. If you caught it in catch mode, you see the big sprite that you originally hit with the Pokeball a few times. And if it was hatched, you see that cute little one that you saw walking around the board. And if it was evolved, you don't see crap, because they didn't have to make a sprite, so no select button sprite fun for you. Haha. But aside from that, it's just like any other Pokedex. It has basic information like height, weight, blood type, favorite type of cereal, description, you know, stuff like that. So lastly, I'm talking about music, because game music kind of really makes the game. I mean, if a game has music that doesn't match it, it just messes up everything. Like, look. But I do have to say, this game's music really does work with it. It definitely has the same sound and feel as the original games did. This game has a nice mix of original Ruby and Sapphire music and brand new stuff with a similar feel. Maybe it's a bit biased because I've always had a soft spot for 3rd gen music, but I personally like the music in this game a lot. So in general, I ended up loving this game a lot, despite having just found out about it a few months ago. It's got parts that are really fun and on the easier side, but still has a lot of parts that are really difficult and super frustrating. This game is also really addicting, like in a good way, not a bad, messy addiction way. I often end up saying I'll play one more round and end up playing for another hour. It's super easy to get immersed and hooked to this game, yet at the same time it's one of those games you can just pick up and play for a round and be done. Overall, this game is a great game. A classic pinball with a Pokemon twist. I would definitely recommend it, and I'm glad I tried it to begin with. Well, thanks for watching, and happy Pokemon Month!